Welcome to WNIN Newsmakers. I'm April Nading. Evansville Mayor Stephanie Terry joins us to talk about the city budget that was passed last week by the City Council. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about how the whole budgeting process works.
Oh goodness, it is a long process. We start early as April, sometimes even as early as March, gathering information from our department heads who spend time preparing their individual budgets, and then they present those to myself and the controller, and we spend days meeting individually with department heads, asking our questions. Then there's another round of cuts, and we spend hours looking at where we need to cut from the budget before we then put a final package ready to present to the City Council. This year, in addition to that, we asked for community feedback. In April, I held a budget forum, which was the first of its kind, I believe, in the city's history, to try to gather feedback. Honestly, I must say the attendance was not good. So we then later on wrote out a survey that was shared, via newsletter, social media. Also, local media put the information out. We didn't get a whole lot of response from that either. But still, in those two community feedback sessions, we were able to gather feedback about what's important. And we hear over and over again, roads, utility costs, park improvements, all the things that are basic core city services is what surfaces to the top. And so, moving into the council presentation really was easy. And it was about presenting and putting together a budget that was about the basics.
So why was it important to you to open it up to the public?
Number one, we serve the public. I mean, this budget is about how their taxpayer dollars are being utilized. And so it's good government, in my opinion, to get feedback from the local residents on how they like to see their resources utilized.
Well, and I could assume also that it's a way to help keep them from turning just into complaints in the end.
Absolutely.
They can feel like they're part of it, maybe.
Absolutely, and transparency. And that's something, as an administration, we've been really intentional about just communication and engaging the community as much as we possibly can. And I think as we continue to do that year after year, I think you're going to continue to get more input. But we think we put together a good package that really addresses some of the things that we hear over and over, whether that's in community meetings, again, in surveys, because we have our traveling city halls and other opportunities for individuals to engage with our team.
Well, do you think maybe you would try that again, opening it up?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, 'cause maybe it was just people didn't hear about it for some reason.
And I think it's something, again, that the city hasn't experienced before, and so they just need to get, in the routine of this is the time of the year that we're going to have an opportunity to speak into what's important for us.
So what were your priorities when you submitted the budget this year?
Yeah, my priorities was back to the basics, the essential core services, so public safety, roads and infrastructure, park improvement, housing also continues to be something that's important. And so those were the items that we put, a lot of attention around in talking with the City Council.
Well, who decides what that budget number is in the first place? So where does that come from?
Well, as I said, we have a number of requests that come from our department heads. We know that the general fund itself, it's about over $140 million budget. About 74% of that is public safety. So that's our police officer, fire, central dispatch, EMS, all of those fall into that bucket. And so it's pretty much set in so many ways. So the salaries are there. And then we, again, that's property tax revenue that comes in, which I'm sure we'll talk about some of the changes from the state legislature here soon, but some of that revenue comes in and then we divvy that out. Then we also have access to our casino funds, and that's where we fund our capital projects. So about a little over $20 million this year was budgeted for capital improvement projects for various departments.
So we really rely on some of the casino funds.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And even this year, because of some of the cuts, we were able to draw down utilizing some of those casino funds so that we don't have to make significant cuts to personnel in public safety. Seeing it's 74% of the budget, we're able to utilize what we have on hand.
So was the budget approved as you submitted it?
It was. We identified, my controller and team, we did identify some edits and errors that we found in there. That was a part of the final recommendation to the council. But really there were no significant adjustments made, and so I'm pretty proud that we were able to get that passed.
So you mentioned a little bit while ago, what were some of the effects of the last legislative session on our budget?
Yeah, so we say SB1 is what many mayors across the state have been referring it to. Of course, it's Senate Enrolled Act 1 was passed into legislation, which is the property tax relief bill that was put forth and approved. And it gives homeowners, I think, roughly $300 or so dollars in relief on their property tax bills. But it puts a hamper on and a strain on city governments all over the state of Indiana. And what we're seeing is potentially next year we could see about a 4.1 reduction in property tax revenue. The year after that, it goes to about $6.3 million, less in revenue. And as I said earlier, public safety is our primary, allocation of resources out of our general fund. And so we're talking about potentially some changes that would happen there if we don't find other ways to fill the gap. And so that's, the state government has given us the option to increase a local income tax. That's not something we did this year in the budget. And we'll kind of evaluate that as it goes on. But our goal is to partner with other mayors across the state and continue to advocate to our state legislators about making adjustments in this next session to Senate Enroll Act 1. Because if they don't, we're going to continue to be, financially strained. They say we're, cut more, be more efficient. We're doing that. I would say we're already as lean as we possibly can be, and want to be sure that we maintain the core services without cutting individuals.
So the legislature cut the property taxes, which also cuts into
Absolutely.
the budget, but they didn't come up with a way that you could get that money back.
Well, the only way,
another way.
Yeah, the only way that was suggested is that the local community increases local income tax.
Okay, so cut one and add to
Yes.
another one. Okay.
And that would put it on, again, local officials to make that adjustment, which is always a tough thing to do.
Well, sure, it's a hard sell. Anytime you use the T word,
Absolutely.
tax.
We know that with the wheel tax. So.
I was going to say, that's my next item on my agenda is what about the wheel tax?
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, so again, this is not new. We already have a wheel tax in play through Vanderbilt County.
Okay.
But it is a way for us, way for us to cover roads, sidewalks, and curb ramps. All of those things can be utilized through the wheel tax revenue that we receive from the state. And so there was legislation that was passed, Bill 1461, really called for some changes into how we receive dollars. Locals receive state funding. We have always benefited from a community crossings grant. That pot of money is shrinking. And so that means we won't have as much as we normally have. We have about $1.5 million for roads. And then it further adds on a new calculation called lane mile distribution. And so if you don't have a local municipal wheel tax, you won't benefit from this lane mile distribution come 2027. And so we wanted to be in a position where we don't, reduce any more of the resources that we have to address an issue that's really at the top of the list when we hear from residents in the community, fix our roads. And so this is a revenue stream that allows us to continue to invest better. We know that we're behind. We've underinvested, I think, for a number of years. Just calculations and talking with our engineer, we could use anywhere from $12 to $20 million a year. We never budget for that. But this year we're able to see us do very close to that amount. I'm pretty proud of being able to increase the number of road projects in city limits and provide smoother roads, hopefully.
How do you decide on that? Which road projects to do?
Yeah, well, the city engineer has this whole calculation of how he determines that. But, definitely you want to look at those higher traffic roads are always at the top of the list. And really, honestly, and I don't think down through the years have we gotten into the neighborhoods themselves. And I think that's where folks really, are interested in seeing us move. And I think over time, maybe we'll reach that point, but we'll never be on your side street. Probably repaving, but we will get those main corridors and really try to do new designs like we've done on the Walnut Street corridor. That's a complete street, so it's walkable bike. You can ride a bicycle, again, and also cars and others can travel on that roadway safely.
Okay, one of the things about the budget was the switch in the ambulance service. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah. So, we have great leadership at the Evansville Fire Department and Tony Knight, and he's done done a tremendous amount of research even before he was fire chief in this area. And so we are looking to bring emergency medical services back in house. I think one, because we're capable. Many times our firefighters are some of the first responders on the scene, and so we don't see this being any different. So we're going to be able to respond quicker. We're going to be able to also hopefully create a revenue stream for the city. And as we think about potential state cuts, this is an opportunity for us to generate more resources. We think by the year 3 of service, that we'll be profitable and be able to really support the general fund here in the city. I think the other thing that's a beauty about this is the intentionality of this research that's been done by our fire chief and the work that we're continuing to do to make sure we set up a really strong operation, again, that will hopefully serve this community well.
So it was like that before.
It was many years ago.
That's what I thought. And
Yes.
then they switched, and then I'm assuming they switched before because they thought it was cost saving,
Yeah,
I guess?
I think there's always depending
Right.
on who's in leadership,
Sure.
whether privatization is best or not. But we really do believe that what the kind of the operation that we're going to put together is going to offer better, more efficient service, and it's going to, again, allow us to have a revenue stream that we don't have now. And we're trying to think about long term, how do we set the city up for success?
So on another subject, I know don't you like to do like town hall sessions? How many do you have planned, or do you have planned for that?
So we're wrapping up the year, and we have one more traveling city hall this year on November the 3rd, and actually that one's focused completely on utility resources. And so we've got a number of community
Big topic.
partners. Yes, it is. But we've got a number of community partners that will be available there for people to come and sign up and get utility relief and assistance. And so that's our contribution. We're trying to listen to what we're hearing from the community. Next year we'll do another 4 traveling city halls. There may be some specialty town halls, like we did an animal care and control town hall. We had a budget forum. So we're thinking about ways, again, that we can get that input from the community and show that, one, we're trying to be transparent, we're trying to be honest, and that we want to engage them in every process that we possibly can.
How helpful are those to you?
I think they're very helpful. One, they know that I'm available. I think that's more than important. And that we're available for questions. At traveling city halls, you have all of the department heads there. So, it's a great opportunity for people to get that one-on-one attention that they sometimes need.
Okay, yeah, and like you said, getting that input. So anything else you'd want to mention about the budget, or maybe anything else coming up for the city?
I don't think so, no. I definitely would encourage folks to come out November 3rd. It's at Eastland Mall from 5:30 to 6:30. I think it's going to be really a great opportunity for individuals to get some relief. And then, of course, as we are approaching the holiday season, our Interfaith Council is having their annual interfaith service. And so we're looking forward to that on November the 19th.
Okay, well, thank you so much for good information.
Thank you.